Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to you all. In the last video, we talked about data types with a focus on looking at value types. In this video, we'll be looking at reference types and also highlighting the different reference types and also looking at arrays for a start. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Alright, so what are reference types? Like I've previously said, reference types in themselves do not store the actual value, but rather they store a reference to where the value is being stored. So this means that you have to provide a location or a area where these variables are being stored. Okay, so reference types includes arrays, mappings, structs, and strings. So like I mentioned before, when we use reference types, right, we need to specify the location. In this case, storage, memory, or call data. So let's take a look at the various data locations one after the other. Okay, so when we say a variable is in storage, it means that this variable is a state variable and is stored on the blockchain. Alright, we also have memory. So when we say a variable is in memory, it means that the variable only exists when the function is running. And when the function ceases to run, the variable no longer exists, right? And also for call data, this is pretty much just like memory, but in this case, it is a special data location that contains function arguments. I hope that makes sense. Alright, moving forward, let's take a look at the various reference types and let's start with arrays. Okay, so for as many of us that are familiar with various programming languages like JavaScript, Python, or even other programming languages, so arrays are used to store a collection of same data types, basically. Alright, so in this case, it means that you can store elements of same data types, like I mentioned. Take for instance, you want to store a number of students in a particular class. Take for instance, you have 50 students in a particular class, right? You want to be able to store these elements of same data types together, and you make use of an array, basically. So having said that, an array has two types. We have fixed size array and also dynamic size array. So speaking of storing a student's data, right? In the case where you already know the number or the data that you want to store, in this case, you want to store 50 students, we are going to make use of a fixed size array because at the time of declaration, the size is fixed. Also for a dynamic size array, in the case where there's a growing list of students, right, you can't control the numbers. So this means I'm going to use a dynamic size array. This means that the size is not defined at the time of declaration. And the various members of an array include push, pop, length. So let's take a practical look at arrays by jumping into Remix IDE. Alright. Alright, let's quickly take a look at an array. As I previously mentioned, let's create a new type called array dot soul. And I want to set the compiler version and also the open source license. And let's call this. Um, and now the next one I want to do is to declare the contract keyword and name this array. Alright, so now let's take a look at fixed size arrays as we mentioned. Okay, so this is going to have the data type, the square bracket, and the number because this is a fixed size. So say this is going to contain like 5 items in this array. You have to specify that. Okay, so we have the visibility and the name, fixed size array, right? Another way to do this is to also initialize it on the go. Take for instance, we want to set this 3 because it's a fixed size, and we do something like fixed size array equals 10, we say 1, 2, 3. So this means that this stores um, 3 values in this array as we have highlighted here. This is a fixed size array. And also here, this is a fixed size array that contains 5 elements. This contains 3 elements. Alright. Let's take a look at declaring a dynamic um, size size array. And basically what this means is it basically has public and let's call it dynamic size array, right? And so this basically means that you can store as much as um, more data that you want to store in this array. Compared to the fixed size array, the dynamic size array doesn't have the size which you want it to have, right? Okay, so having said that, let's take a look at the different members of an array. Take for instance, length, Let's quickly get length, and then we got this public view. We done. I mean, we'll explain the concept of function in the later video, and then yes. So we want to return both the dynamic and also the fixed size um, array. So let's call this fixed size array dot length, right? And basically dynamic size array dot length. So this basically returns the size of the fixed size array and also the dynamic size array. Alright, so the next thing we want to do is also to use the member push, right? Let's say add add to dynamic size array. Alright. And in this case we wanna push wanna make this public first, and we wanna push to the dynamic size array. Let's basically just do dynamic dot push, right? And we can pass in a variable to be value, and just pass in the argument, right? And pretty much it, right? So this basically adds a new array to um this basically adds a new value or a new item to the dynamic size array. So each time you keep calling this function, it keeps adding more value to the dynamic size array, or more elements to the dynamic size array basically. All right, let's look at function pop from dynamic size array. And what this basically does is it removes item from an array, right? Dot pop, right? It basically just removes. So it's basically just the opposite of push. In this case, it basically removes an item from the array, the last item from the array. All right. So pretty much it. We can also take a look at declaring an array in like a function in memory, right? So in the case where you're trying to write a function and you want to declare an array in your function, right? So let's do this. Declare an array in and what we basically want to do in this case is to declare the array, right? In this case, you specify the location and you call it, let's say n equals new new basically specify the size. Say let this is 5, right? And the next thing you want to do is to initialize this. Let's say n 0 equals 5, and do n 1 equals 10, basically. So this is saying can be suited to pure error. So let's do this. So this is just basically declaring an array in memory. In case where we want to use a function call, we can declare an array like this. So far we've been able to itemize the fixed array, the dynamic size array. We basically use the member length and also push and pop, then also declare an array in memory. Right? So let's deploy this and see how it works generally. Okay. All right. So we have our array deployed. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is let's get the length. We have 50. So for the length, we specifically added the size, which or the length, which is 5, and we return 5. So for the dynamic array, by default is 0. So let's try to push to a dynamic array, add to dynamic array. So let's push the value to be 1. Let's call that. Let's get the length. You see the length increased to 1. Let's add more. And let's see how that works. The length increases to 2. Alright, so let's pop from a dynamic size array. So once you click on this, and when you try to get the length, you see the length reduces to 1 because we just basically removed from the list of items in the array. Alright, so that's pretty much it. right? Let's see a fixed size array. Let's get a value. So in this case, because this is a public function, sorry, this is a public variable, right? It automatically provides a getter function. So when you specify the index of one, expected to get two, right? Because we specified for the fixed size array, because an array is zero based index, so it starts from zero. When we impute zero, we basically get one. And we impute one, we basically get two. When we impute two, we basically get three. Right, so pretty much how it works. Right, that's all for the explanation of the different numbers and also fixed size and dynamic size. Alright, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.